It's been a while since I have posted, but let's talk about anxiety. There have been many religions, many schools of thought, many philosophies, many people who give their own opinions and their own ideas about anxiety. I'm going to present two of the most relatable that I have found, and the ones that are also pretty famous, the ones that progressed in a very interesting way in history, which means that they were not just left by one person, people built on it. The first one I would like to talk about the Stoic view of anxiety. And you have to understand that these school of thoughts have their own way of defining anxiety, and then they have their own way of defining the cause of that anxiety. For the Stoics, I would like to talk about the person Epictetus, who was not the founder of Stoicism, but he was a famous Stoic. Part of the reason because he was a slave before, so he came from the background of dealing with hardships. He gave an example of an orator, somebody who's about to give a speech. This person prepared for his speech, he knows exactly what he's going to talk about, but he still feels the anxiety of standing on the stage and being judged by people. Now he says anxiety comes from outside. Anxiety comes when you try to control the uncontrollable, which is the opinion of other people. Instead of directing your focus outside of you, and it is a very famous Stoic viewpoint that you cannot really control the external, but you can control the internal, which is how you respond to these things. Like if something bad happens to you, somebody says something to you, you can't really fix the mouth of that person, but you can really control how you respond to it. That's the Stoic concept. They say that anxiety comes when you're trying to control the uncontrollable and when you're too fixated on the external instead of the internal. So when you're seeking validation from the external instead of the internal, that's the cause of your anxiety. And his solution is literally this, that instead of trying to seek that validation externally, you catch yourself when you do it. And you shift your focus inward. Just accept it as the uncontrollable. And Stoics have this belief that there is something called the logos, which is the underlying order of the universe that you have to be in alignment with. And if you try to disobey that underlying order of the universe, which is the logos, you will face with anxiety because again you're trying to control which is not under your control. So stop worrying about the uncontrollable and eventually, you won't be as anxious. Now, if you look at the writings of Marcus Aurelius, he often talks about his own failures. So obviously it states that you will fail sometimes, but the point is to remember your path. That is the Stoic concept of anxiety. And then comes the existentialists. The father of existentialism is Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, who was a Christian from his background, as he often used the example from the Bible when he was talking about his philosophy. But he coined the term radical existential anxiety. Now, there's a different assumption by Kierkegaard compared to the Stoics. The Stoics thinks that there's an underlying order of the universe you have to be in alignment with, so you can't really control parts of your life. Kierkegaard says that majority of your life is under your control. You control your decisions and your decisions make who you are. That's what they believe in. And he says that the response to this freedom that you have, the freedom of making so many choices in your life, every day you are confronted by so many choices that you can make, and it's not just the choices that you can make, it's the consequences of those choices that you will be responsible of. So if your choices end up hurting somebody else or putting you in a situation where you will be ashamed or whatever, in an embarrassing situation, the possibility of all that is what makes you anxious. So you see the difference. And he says, well, his solution to this anxiety is literally just embrace it. He says that there are two ways that you can take from here. You can either reject it, or you can either freeze or paralyze and do nothing and face the society, the already made rules, and just follow them, so you don't have to make your own decisions, choose your own path, or freeze or paralyze, or use drugs and so on, other things to distract yourself from this freedom that you have, or just embrace it. But he tries to help you a little bit by trying to give you a positive view of this anxiety. He says that this anxiety is not really bad. He says that this anxiety actually makes you a human. This shows you how much of a freedom you have and how you can't live without this freedom either. Those who do not have this freedom, he makes you think about them. And then he says that this anxiety that you feel as a response to your freedom, this radical existential anxiety that you feel, often is good because it can help you find out, because it can help you reflect within and find out what exactly is it that you need, that you want, what exactly is your inclination, so you can reconnect with your purpose in life and find meaning. So instead of paralyzing or freezing, you use it to reflect within and try to find what exactly is your inclination in life. What exactly is it that gives you that spark, that is pulling you? So you turn it into an internal dialogue, like a self-discovery path. So these are like two different schools of thoughts, and I feel like this is how I understand philosophy. You don't have to stick to one most of the time. Different situations often call for different ideas or different explanations. These are the two that I found relatable. And obviously there are more, and I'm not going to add all of them here because the video will be too long. But I hope you were able to find this video helpful. And comment down below what you guys think about these philosophies and these views on anxiety by these schools of thoughts, from your own experience and so on. And I'm trying to create a community of people who would like to come together and discuss ideas like this. Practical ideas, which means the ones that will directly affect your life. So philosophy, psychology, theology, and these things. And if you're interested in joining that community and contributing to the community, it's free to join. The link is in the bio. Thank you very much.